is a lengthy 6'4" corner with 4.4 speed. Sicario is, of course, the way white guys like me pronounce the name of a Mexican restaurant after one too many margaritas. I love hanging with you at the Tacario, man. I love it. I love you're my best friend. But when you think about one of the bigger corners in recent history, like Richard Sherman, he was 6'4" and ran a 4.56. It's not quite up to the caliber of Rick
What
Williams
the
or
fuck? I
Andre
didn't even snap the ball way
Johnson,
faster than
but
any
it's
time
starting
before.
to think
It's like they do
we
that shit on
might be a
purpose.
Seahawks selected somewhere in the middle of the draft. And we've got the tight ends. And tight ends had some seriously elite performances. And I'm talking in the context of combine history. The book of Eli Stowers hit us with a 45.5-inch vertical. He put up the second best vert at the combine since 2003, 2 weeks after pulling his fucking hamstring. How the hell does a hamstring injury make you stronger and jump higher? I'm about to sprain my penis to see if I can get similar results. That record-breaking jump came shortly after Kenyon Sadiq tied the tight end record for vertical jumps at 43.5. So yeah, it's crazy that Stower shattered that tying record moments after it was tied. He was considered the second best tight end heading into this draft and is coming off a season at Vandy with 769 receiving yards. My winning freak, Kenyon Sadiq, who had more impressive metrics than OBJ, Deshaun Jackson, Julio Jones, and Andre Johnson. Tight ends are not supposed to run a 4.4, but Sadiq ran a 4.39. He had a top speed that matched Jahmyr Gibbs. And when you take the accumulation of everything Sadiq did at the combine, nobody might have helped their draft stock more than the Oregon tight end, who also apparently crushed his interviews.
Let me tell you about Sadiq, by the way. I love Sadiq. Blowing people away in interviews. Walking into interviews and explaining exactly what everybody else's assignment is. Which at the tight end position, yeah. I guess it's the best interview we ever had.
People were initially concerned about Kenyon Sadiq because he was late to combine activities, but it turned out he was still getting interviewed, breaking down everything about Oregon's offense. He's no longer making it to the back half of the first round, as he may be the best overall athlete on the offensive side of the ball in this draft. Winning homecoming, Caden, the wet fart legend, when he was greeted by his hometown friends after getting home for the combine. Thanks to your friends, Caden, you will always be wet fart to me. Speaking of me, one big loser, me. Listening to Matt Miller confirm my fear that if Jeremiah Love falls to the Chiefs, it would be terrible for me, for football fans, and for our entire country, really. I celebrated when the Chiefs didn't give up the pick required to get Breece Hall, but if it turns into them getting Love, then simply put, I shall be a hater. He's got Saquon Barkley type moves, and as you can see here, he's somehow faster. Not sure why they made these guys run at the same time now. Love ran an unofficial 4.36 40-yard dash on his second attempt, putting him second on the list of running backs behind
What
only
the
Mike
fuck?
Washington Jr. from Arkansas. Overall, we've learned that the running backs are getting faster. 7 different backs ran under a 4.5 at the combine. It's the highest average 40 speed since
What
they
the fuck
started
just happened?
doing electronic timing in 2003. Personally, I would have loved to see where Jerome Bettis was clocked. As I mentioned, though, Mike Washington was the fastest of the group with a 4.33 40, which is certifiably fucking insane for someone who measures in at 6'2", 228. He produced the best overall speed score in a decade, is making me compare him to Derrick Henry. And he's absolutely right to be crying tears of joy, because in the span of just 4.33 seconds, he just earned himself a lot of extra money. If Mike Washington played receiver, then I would have assumed that he's an egomaniac, and he was so impressed by his own athletic performance that it brought him to tears, something only a wide receiver could do. Washington played for 3 different schools over 5 years in college and broke 1,000 yards for the first time last year with the Razorbacks. If the Broncos draft him at the end of the first round, I will not be mad. My winning seductress, USC receiver Makai Lemon.
Who's one NFL player you model your game after or look up to?
St. Brown, what type of grit he plays with, what type of way he can have a positive impact, on the team without the ball in his hands.
Looks like he's trying to get you into the sack before he answers any question you have for him. Thinking a receiver might want to take your ass cherry, well, that might actually be an elite level of nonverbal trash talk. When life gives you Makai Lemon, you take him in the first round. Lemon has been mocked to the Saints, and Tyler Shuck could use his 1,100 plus receiving yards and 9 touchdowns down in New Orleans. Trey Lance's brother comps to fellow NDSU receiver Christian Watson. Losers, the 49ers, when they trade up to the 3rd overall spot in the draft to select Bryce Lance. Now, Bryce had 8 receiving touchdowns and over 1,000 yards last year for North Dakota State. I thought this was an interesting headline from USA Today. Bryce Lance, brother of Trey, ready to make his own NFL imprint. Yeah, I don't think Bryce has to worry about being overshadowed by his older brother. The winning 40 time goes to this year's fastest man, Brendan Thompson, who ran a 4.26 40. Thompson was a 1,000-yard receiver at Mississippi State last year. There were 10 receivers to run a 4.37 40 or faster at the combine. It's a great year to add speed to your receiving core through the draft. Casey Concepcion was already considered a possible first-round pick at receiver, but certainly helped his draft stock with a great combine. The Texas A&M wideout had 9 TDs last season. He was the Paul Hornung Award winner, which goes to the horniest player in college. Sorry, I mean the player that gambles on the most game. Nope, sorry again. I mean the most versatile player. Versatile player. Loser being the other 4.2 guy. Overall, the history of guys who ran 4.2 40s is not as stellar as you'd think. You've got Chris Johnson, who was superb, then Xavier Worthy, John Ross, Kalen Barnes, Dre Archer, and Rondell Mendez. When you look at the best 40 times ever, there are a hilarious amount of Raiders, though. And I think if you run that fast, you better play running back. My losing metric, Madden. Now I get the marketing of it and the partnership between Madden and the NFL, but having projected Madden ratings next to official combine scores is fucking dumb. Can you really project a number that some guy's just going to come up with off the top of his head? That's like trying to project where those nerds set the doomsday clock. Winning catch, Jacoby Lane. He may have helped his receiver draft stock the most. Just smooth. He's smooth. He made catching look easy in the gauntlet. Winning technology, this. Much like a highway, there's 5 lanes out there. Losing receiver, well, that's Ohio State's Carnell Tate, who is widely considered the best receiver in this draft. In a combine with nothing but burners, Tate ran a fucking putrid 4.54 40. So slow. Now, I know Tate's out there playing 4D chess, okay? That's a man running just slow enough in hopes that the Browns do not draft him. Bills GM Brandon Beane echoed the same sentiment, saying,
He's pretty slow. I'm probably going to take this early.
There you go, Bean. Losing comedian Brandon Beane. For a guy who was sucked so bad at drafting, got his coach fired, and notoriously whipped on a receiver and compiled Josh Allen the opposite of the Avengers at the receiver position group last season, I don't think you should be allowed to make any jokes, Brandon, nor should you be allowed to smile, laugh, or show any signs of enjoying any aspect of life until you get Josh Allen a Super Bowl. I'd love to see Tate go at 4 to the Titans, actually, for Cam Ward. This is a dude who performed at the same level as Justin Jefferson, A.J. Brown, and JSN in terms of contested catch rate, missed tackle rate, and passer rating when targeted. Cincinnati receiver Jeff Caldwell produced the second-best RAS score since 1987. Guys named Jeff are not supposed to have this kind of raw athleticism, but the RAS suggests his comps at receiver are Calvin Johnson, Julio Jones, and DK Metcalf. That's just a tiny bit of pressure for young Jeff. Your first move, Jeff? Try and punch a fan in the face. Last and certainly least, The quarterbacks. Indiana's Fernando Mendoza will be the number 1 overall pick in April. He did not throw at the combine, but where do the other quarterbacks stand? Well, Alabama's Ty Simpson could be the second quarterback taken in this draft. And then there's a quagmire of muddied results on the field between Drew Allard, Garrett Nussmeier, Carson Beck, and Cade Klubnik. Garrett dropped a few nice FDRs during his throwing session.
Nussmeier made some nice throws. Nussmeier really driving that one. Nice.
Out of all the quarterback drills, though, and in metrics, the thing that stood out to me the most was my losing mentor. Hearing Vanderbilt QB Diego Pavia is getting advice from Johnny Manziel, that's interesting. If Pavia is getting his offseason advice from Johnny Football, I'm assuming he's also getting his nutrition plan from Jeffrey Dahmer and not Tom Brady. My winning surprise quarterback? North Dakota's Cole Payton. Truly sneaky athletics, running the third fastest 40 time, and then basically was second to Talon Green in all the other key performance markers, vert, broad and cone, broad with cones. Cole had one of the more interesting college careers. He only started 1 year at North Dakota, but put up modest passing numbers, and also had the sneakiest 777 rushing yards you'll ever see, and he tapped the end zone 13 times while rushing the ball. He got a lot of carries at North Dakota before he became the starting QB, including 84 for 615 yards and another 13 touchdowns in 2023 in spot action, a season where he only had 27 passing attempts. And he may have convinced some GM that he could be the third overall quarterback drafted. He's at least in that conversation after the combine right now. He's so intriguing that I'm probably going to have to dedicate a full video on him because he's got some insane dual threat athletics, but just 1 year starting and throwing. That said, I think my new quarterback crush is Arkansas Razorback Talon Green.
Adrenaline is?
The best drug.
It wasn't just his insane athleticism, but he's also very likable.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna stroke that thing. I'm gonna shoot it.
He is the best in winning dual threat QB in this class, and if he can clean up his interception numbers, he's got a shot to survive in the NFL. He'd be a great backup in Baltimore, maybe a smart pick for the Steelers, or if I'm getting wild, a Houston Texans insurance policy if CJ Stroud struggles again. Boom! That's my hottest take of this episode. Talon Green broke both Anthony Richardson's broad jump and vertical jump records for a QB and ran the fastest 40 by a quarterback since '03. Second fastest 40 time by a QB ever, and unlike Anthony Richardson, Green knows how to use an exercise band. And he has 4 years of starts under his belt from the collegiate level. Again, he's got areas to improve, but he's got experience, and he ripped 41 explosive runs last year, which is second most in all of college football. Carson Beck was booed by Indy fans, but might have had the best passing workout of the QBs. I'm really not sure why they'd boo him. He was the one who sealed the national championship for the Hoosiers this year.
I do appreciate the blues because I never have to look at the numbers to see who's up. I just know it's Beck's turn.
He is the first player to ever play the combine on the road.
I'd probably cheer for that man, if anything. Performing well while being booed, though, is a sign of a future dog. So, congrats, you're a Cleveland Brown, Beck. Alabama's Ty Simpson looked pretty accurate throwing against the air. It feels more and more like Simpson is going to go in the first round, whether the Jets jump back in and take him or the Rams try and make him the successor to Matthew Stafford. Ty's biggest boost probably came from Dan Orlovsky saying,
I think through 8 games, Ty Simpson's tape from Alabama through the first 8 games of the season, I think is significantly more impressive than Fernando Mendoza.
Now, Simpson fractured his rib in the Rose Bowl, but did have a very nice season with 28 TDs to just 5 picks. Winning backup, Cade Klubnik, who has what you might call elite backup quarterback measurables, coming in at 6'2", 207, but most importantly, he's got that backup QB haircut. He shined in terms of footwork and accuracy and sits at number